Ever reached that point where you've been asked to rearrange an equation and you don't know what to do? Just to rearrange an equation? Well, this video is going to help. Intro. Hi everybody, and this is an introduction to rearranging formulas, and I'm going to give you 4 easy rules to help you through your exams, your general mathematics and algebra that you may encounter. This is really useful for your GCSE higher and foundation papers. Need to cover some ideas though before we start, and the first one is really important. We can undo anything in mathematics. What do I mean by that? Simple. If I multiply something, then I can divide it to get rid of it. If I divide something, it doesn't take a rocket science, people, to work out that I can multiply it. And it naturally follows that if I add something, well, to undo it, it's subtract, and vice versa. Really also importantly is whatever I do to one side of an equation, I must do on the other side too. What do I mean by that? Well, there you go, there's something, 2 plus 3 equals 1 plus 4, and you're saying, yep, that's really easy, I understand that. And we know that 2 plus 3 equals 5, and we know that 1 plus 4 equals 5. So it's an equation, one side equals the other. What if I take away 1 from the left-hand side? Well, that's going to give me 4. Well, the only way that I'm going to make that work on the right-hand side is if I take away 1 on the right-hand side. In other words, what I did on one side, on the left-hand side, I also did on the right. So look, let's dive straight into rule number 1. And that is going to be really governed by this fact that we've got the whole idea of undoing, which we covered just a second or two ago, and also that we must do it on both sides. So let's have a look at something we may have to rearrange. 4x equals y, and rearrange for x. Those are the words that they are going to use. In other words, we want to make it read as x equals, and everything else is on the other side of the equation symbol. I've highlighted the x there, that's what we're going to isolate. So, really importantly, what is happening to x? Well, it's being multiplied by 4. X is being multiplied by 4. That's what's happening to it. Remember what I said about undoing? How do I get rid of a multiply? Well, I divide it. And in this case, because it was being multiplied by 4, I undo that by dividing by 4. So let's just run through that. Remembering at all times that I'm going to do everything I need to do on both sides. So 4x equals y, divide by 4. Now here's the great bit. Because I'm dividing by 4 times x, that cancels everything out, just leaving the x. But remember, I've got to do it to both sides. So on the right hand side, I divide the y by 4 as well. Guess what? That's it. There's nothing more to it than that. X equals y over 4. Let's have a look at another one. Remembering the undo and the both thing that we discussed. And this is where I've got x over 2 equals y. Got to rearrange for x. And here, the x, what's happening to it? It's been divided by 2. Okay, how do I get rid of divide by 2? I times by 2. Let's just work through that. Remembering I've got to do what I need to do to both sides. So I've rewritten the formula out. There's my times 2. So the times 2 just gets rid of the divide by 2. Brilliant. But I must remember to multiply the right hand side. Y times 2. I've just tidied it up there to have x equals 2y. That's it. We're only 4 minutes in, and that's it. We've covered most of how to rearrange your formula. It is as easy as that. You can do this, people. Okay. Now we're going to go into rule 3, which is when I've got something like x plus 1 equals y. And we're going to rearrange this equation for x. Now, what I will say is, at this point, rule 3 covers when I've got something like plus a number. It's exactly the same idea as if I've got minus a number. So we're just going to have a look at the plus 1 bit here. What is happening to x? Well, that is what's happening to x. It's having 1 added to it. And now going to that whole idea of undoing. How do I undo plus 1? Well, I subtract 1. Let's have a go. Remembering to do both sides. X plus 1 equals y. I now subtract 1 from both sides. On the left hand side, it just cancels it down. This is the magic of rearranging formulas. But remembering to do it on both sides gives me y minus 1. And there you go. That's the finished formula. X equals y minus 1. It's as easy as that. Now remember, I could do this for x minus 1, and then the undo would be plus 1. It's exactly the same routine. Nice and easy. Okay, now let's look at the fourth rule. This is for mixed situations. Now what you can see here is got 4x plus 2 equals y. We're going to rearrange for x. What's happening to x though? Well, it's been multiplied by 4 and it's having 2 added to the equation. So the way around this is to, and you can look at it how you want to, I guess. My view is always that I do what's furthest away from x. And the thing that's furthest away from x is the plus 2, the 4 snuggled up to it. What's the undo of add 2, of plus 2? Well, it's subtract 2. And what's the undo of 4 times x? Well, it's divide by 4. So these are basically, it's everything we've just talked about in the previous slides, just brought together. Okay, here we go. So 4x plus 2 equals y minus 2. First thing I do, you think I've speeded things up here, because we know what we're doing, is I'm going to subtract 2. I subtract 2 from the left hand side, it just cancels it out. And I subtract 2 from the right hand side. Have a little tidy up. I'm left with 4x equals y minus 2. And now I'm going to do the next bit, which is divide by 4. So dividing by 4 just cancels down the 4 in front of 4x. Really easy. And I remember to divide everything on the right hand side. And you see here, just draw the line, just write the 4 underneath, you're done. Tidied up, that equals x equals y minus 2 over 4. One more of the mixed. Remembering the undo and remembering to do it on both sides. So now we've got y equals 4x minus 5. And I've dived straight in here. I think we're up to speed. I think you can do it. What's happening to x? Well, it's having minus 5 applied to it and it's being multiplied by 4. And I'm going to do the thing that's furthest away from x first. How do I get rid of minus 5? Yeah, I plus 5. And how do I get rid of 4 times x? Yes, I divide by 4. Here we go. So, and I've made a bit of room. You'll see why in a second. The first thing I'm going to do is plus 5. That negates out, it gets rid of that minus 5 on the right hand side. And I put a plus 5 in on the left hand side. So I've got y plus 5 equals 4x. Tidied up there for you. Now I need to get rid of that 4x. How do I do that? Yeah, I divide out by 4, just like we've done in the previous slides. So dividing 4 cancels that 4 out in front of the 4x, and then I divide everything, the y plus 5, everything by the 4. And we are done, everybody. That is it. Okay, you've had 8.5 minutes of study here. Please go and do your practice work. Please apply these principles. You will begin to find it easy. The principles don't change at any point.